Welcome back to Hidden Power. This is a Pokemon podcast. My name is DustyGogoat. Today I'm with the LumiosePost.
Hello.
And not SoulSilverArt. I'm with Jake Steinberg from the channel Jake Steinberg. What's up?
That's right, baby.
How you doing, man?
Doing great. I'm excited to keep talking about Pokemon. We're having so much fun.
Yeah. So okay, this episode's gonna be fun. We get a lot of evidence points. There's some news of some sort of new TCG set that is related to Gen 5. This isn't going to be some sort of just surface level hype cycle of Gen 5 rumors. I think what we'd like to do is cover that information about this new TCG set. We'd like to also talk and give some points about, why we do think some new classic Pokemon ports are going to be coming. I think we'd like to string that together with the Gen 5 information, and then we get a little bit of a reveal at the end. And then naturally, that's going to, turn into a Generation 10 PLZA timeline discussion. I think it's all going to unfold, but we do just stay tuned. Trust us. There's a juicy cherry on top that you're going to want to hear. But
I like cherries.
Lumi, do you want to set everyone up and kind of give context for what we're talking about today, specifically about this new TCG set?
Yes, so from the dawn of time, people have played Pokemon cards as well as Pokemon games. And of course, you have TCG sets. They come out every 3-ish months. Obviously, whereas the games release worldwide for everyone, the TCG sets are a bit like how the games used to be, where they release for Japan, and then a few months later they release for the English set.
Yeah.
But a trademark recently leaked, and they are called Black Volt, White Flare, and Heat Wave Arena is the other one. Some people are translating that as Hot Air Arena, but it's actually Heat Wave Arena. Is the correct translation of it.
That's
what
cool.
People have said.
Yeah, and so the idea is that these names are tied to some sort of legendary. I think it's very clear. Black Volt, White Flare, that is Reshiram and Zekrom, the legendary dragon Pokemon from Unova. I think this is,
and Heat Wave Arena is clearly Volcarona, in my opinion.
Okay, that's cool. Okay,
I suppose it could be Victini, but Volcarona's been, because you have to think the TCG sets aren't always focused around legendaries, right? Like, for example, an English set that's coming out soon is called Surging Sparks.
Sure.
And the Pokemon on the front cover of the Elite Trainer box is Pikachu,
Totally.
So it doesn't have to be a legendary for the TCG.
These are definitely legendaries.
Seems to suggest to me that's Volcarona, and then Black Volt and White Flare are very obviously Zekrom and Resh. Is there any debate here? We are frozen again, but is there any debate here that this is Zekrom and Reshiram?
What is going on?
It's funny how I just replayed. Played for the first time, really Black and White. So now I'm like here, and I'm like, oh my god, I get all of this.
Oh yeah,
right.
you're in on this.
You even said the Volcarona thing, and I was like, wait, you mean the egg? The egg guy that I got? Yeah.
Well, and not only the egg, but another thing that happens is Volcarona's like one of those Pokemon like Spiritomb, where it's like a Rotom, where like you can almost kind of question is this a legendary or not? Because you do have this is so
Dude,
weird.
what is going on today?
I don't know. Do I need to? I'm gonna try popping out and popping back in.
I close it. I can still hear you, and then it works, and then it freezes again. So I don't really know. I don't really know what's going on. I could reset.
But
just keep going.
But Volcarona is a Pokemon that you get like the static encounter at the bottom of the Desert Ruins in Unova. You also that whole Desert Ruins is clearly like some kind of shrine or temple to Volcarona. They've got like it on a mosaic and all this. It also
why would they be? Oh, there we go. So I'm
gonna reload OBS. This is really
yeah.
Recording again. All right, let's just keep doing it.
Okay, we can't see your camera on our end. Okay, now we can.
So where are we at, guys?
Jake, you were asking something.
So what I'm getting out of this is that there's a lot of Gen 5 prominence in these TCG pack names, whatever it is.
Yes.
And I hear from the Pokemon people all the time. They tell me the schedule, Jake, the sacred timeline, if you will. Everything has to adhere to the anime, the cards, the games. We're on a schedule.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, why are we hitting Gen 5 right now with these cards?
Right.
That is the big question.
And now, something to point out too is that these are trademarks that have been leaked. We don't necessarily know that this is the next set after the next set that's supposed to come out is September 30th or 13th, excuse me, and it's called Paradise Dracona, which is like going to feature like a Alolan Executor and Latios and Latias,
which has nothing
which is a bit random
to do with which has nothing to do with Black and White.
It has nothing to do with Black and White. No, we are still frozen, but we can keep going
we're good.
if you want. Oh, only I am on his end for some reason.
Oh, no.
There we go.
goes-
Now it
there
is.
goes Jake.
Yeah.
All
But
right, guys. This is really annoying. What do you guys? I'm thinking about maybe trying out what's it called, Riverside. Maybe we can just reset the recording, and I can just edit this in post.
if you want.
No, that sounds like a pain in the butt because then I have to actually.
I'm fine with talking if you want to just like if you want to keep us frozen. I know it is a little annoying for viewers, but there we go.
Yeah,
we
you guys
pop
just
back
kind
in.
of fixed. Yeah. Okay. Let's just keep going then. I'll just edit this out.
Okay. So we don't know when this will be releasing. It's not necessarily next in line, so it could release later next year. But obviously, the thing that makes this so important is that we have for a while now, and it's been a bit quieter since Legends ZA announcement, but for a while now we have had some rumors of Gen 5 remakes. In fact, Jake, it was you who I
Oh my
believe
God, yeah.
first time having you on the show. I think it was the first time.
I think so,
Correct me if
too.
I'm wrong. You said to SoulSilverArt, our very own
Yep.
SoulSilverArt, so just tell me, what is the likelihood of us getting Gen 5 remakes? And SoulSilverArt responded with, we are 100% getting Gen 5 remakes.
And we
I
thought
kicked
it
my
was
feet
true.
up. I kicked my feet up. I went, oh, okay, great. Now time to go proselytize to my followers,
Absolutely. And see, the thing is, where this all came from is you had Ku, who, up until this point had a very good track record, a near perfect track record with his leaks, saying that there would be Gen 5 remakes. And then also you had Pyoro right before Pokemon Day. Someone asked him, hey, what's going to get revealed in the Pokemon Direct? And he did say, I'm not 100% certain, but the thing I've been hearing is that there would be an outsourced Pokemon Black and White remake. And then also, too, Soul said that he has a third source that he trusts very much, and I trust Soul in trusting people, who he said this third source also said Black and White remake being outsourced. So what happened is the thing, and I think the thought process is that these Black and White games, at least this is kind of what Soul and some others who, I think have proven they have some kind of connection, have stated that what they think has happened is that the Black and White remakes were supposed to come out for the Switch 2. Well, the Switch 2 was supposed to come out this fall.
Yeah.
Well, now the Switch 2 is not coming out this fall. And if the Switch 2 is not coming out this fall, any game made for the Switch 2, i.e. the Pokemon Black and White remake, will not be coming out this fall. We do know, correct me if I'm wrong, but they have stated that the Switch successor, is it that it will be revealed or it will come out before the end of the fiscal year?
They have not said or nothing. None of that.
They didn't. I thought back in March they said that they were going to reveal it before the end of the fiscal year. At least reveal it.
They said something like they're working on it or whatever.
Let's see,
Maybe.
There was like a
Nintendo-
random tweet and they were like, just to let you know.
Successor.
That fiscal year ends earlier than you think. Yeah.
Well, it said March 2025, and so here it is. Variety says Nintendo has made a formal announcement about its next gaming console. The follow-up to the 8-year-old Nintendo Switch will be made by the end of March 2025.
Oh, there you go. Great. There you go.
So I think the thought process is like this would be coming out around the time that this Switch 2 would come out. Maybe they would make it their November release of next year, because I think people are in the camp that Legends ZA will be releasing like late spring, summerish of next year. But this just kind of adds some more fuel to that fire. Again, I think it's just important to look at all the things combined, and that is obviously the teases to Unova and Blueberry Academy, which is pretty New York's not really connected to Spain, so that is a random choice for them to have done. Then plus Pyoro, a very credible leaker, Ku, who up until that point had been a very credible leaker, and this third person, which while we don't know, I trust my friend SoulSilverArt, says that there was another person saying it. So
yeah, so the idea is that maybe this is either a leftover from that timeline when we would have already had received a Gen 5 remake. That is one thing. I've also thought maybe this is all the leaker saw. Maybe all the leaker saw was, there's going to be a new TCG set, and they're working on it, and there's going to be some merch around it. And guess what? That means Gen 5 remakes. That could be something. They
don't ordinarily do merch around TCG. Normally TCG is
there's products,
essentially a merch around a thing, though.
But there's products in theming specifically around.
I guess, but the thing is, Ku is kind of
just an idea.
And this is usually the case with leakers. Usually leakers don't usually when we get some kind of Pokemon leaker, they do not have access to everything.
Yeah.
They kind of have a sphere that they're getting from because they have one source who maybe he works for the translating of the Pokemon games. So then they're getting Pokemon games. They're not usually going to have access to TCG information or any of that. So it's a little weird for sure. I'm not saying that it definitely means it. I am on the train of Unova remakes, so I do kind of believe it. You do also have Pokemon Works that was announced earlier this year. Pokemon Works is a subsidiary of the Pokemon Company that is made up of officials from Game Freak, who, if you didn't know, makes Pokemon games. And also Ilka, who, if you didn't know, has made a Pokemon game and makes Pokemon Home. They're the people who do Pokemon Home, or Pokemon Jail, as I like to call it.
Yeah, so I don't know. So all of this speculation of Gen 5 remakes, I feel really fatigued by it. And I think what excited me about this news is not because it means really anything. It could mean something, but I think what is really on my mind at the moment is there's an opportunity. And listen, if you've listened to the show, if you follow me on Twitter, I think we're gonna eventually get some sort of classic Pokemon game collection ports, whatever that might look like, right? That's maybe one of the reasons why Jake is on the show. He had a really viral tweet recently, and we can talk about that in a little bit when it comes to just general ports for Pokemon. But I think what really excites me right now, it's something that I've just been thinking about, is that Black and White and their sequels are the worst performing debut Pokemon game when it comes to introducing a new set of starters, a new region, a new generation. Black and White are the worst performing Pokemon games. And maybe that means nothing, but it also kind of feels like if Game Freak, if there's already not a lot of goodwill with Black and White, why would they want to remake it? Isn't the point of a remake to revisit and repackage and resell beloved memories, right? Beloved products, characters, whatever. I kind of got the idea. And so this is another thing, right? I think for the last 2 years, the idea of remaking Black and White feels really broken. It feels incorrect because it would kind of just inherently ignore Black 2 and White 2, which aren't the definitive version of a game, but rather just a completely separate game. So I guess I'll just repeat or just kind of recap the dilemma, and maybe a solution that a lot of people have offered is okay, we get a Legends game for the Unova region, or maybe we get a Black and White 3, but there's problems with those as well. So I kind of like the idea, if we don't have currently in 2024 a game announced for November of 2024, I feel like there's a good opportunity, right, that they could be you know what, we're actually gonna port these games. Maybe they provide some sort of collection, right, where you get Black and Black 2 and White 2, and they say, hey, go buy this collection. It's gonna be out in a month. Because I think a port doesn't make sense to announce 7 months ahead of time. I don't think it makes sense to announce 9 months ahead of time. I think it's just kind of it's an exciting thing. You announce it. Jake, jump in if you can, if you have examples of other ports that have been announced in a similar vein.
I think they did that with
let's talk about
the
it.
Gen 1 ports, right? Didn't they just like kind of say this will be out like
I
tomorrow?
forget, but
I mean, you
that's
don't even
great.
have to. I don't even think you have to look that far. If you just look at other Nintendo published first party games, Metroid Prime remastered. That was shadow dropped in a Nintendo Direct. They didn't give that any PR. That was, the Super Mario 3D collection. I think came out.
There we go.
Maybe like a couple months after it was announced, if even that. It's these remakes and I mean those are both I think pretty close to ports. But especially the Mario 3D collection, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was a straight port, right?
Yeah, I mean that was like an anniversary product as well, and it had like widescreen and things like that. But yeah, it's traditionally when Nintendo publishes a game like that, like a port, it doesn't really get that kind of like long PR leg like it would normally. But I actually just want to talk a little bit about this mysterious maybe delayed black and white game that we're talking about right now, because I think that I've got some points for that and some points against that are interesting.
Great.
So this idea that the Switch 2 was delayed and that took with it a Pokemon game that was going to come out. I like this idea. Let's break that down a little bit. So I pointed this out to Dusty before, but for the audience, if you look at November, the November calendar for Nintendo this year, the games that are coming out, every year, you can research this on your own, but every year for as far as I could ever go back, the day that the big Nintendo published fall game comes out is always the week before Thanksgiving. This is not exclusively a Nintendo thing. This is a video game industry thing. That is when you sell your product. And last year, Super Mario RPG was that game. It came out the week before Thanksgiving. That was a game Nintendo published. But if you look back, you look at Pokemon Sword, that came out the week before Thanksgiving. That came out November 15th. If you look at Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, that came out November 19th, the week before Thanksgiving. If you look at Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, that came out November 18th, the week before Thanksgiving. This is simply what you do with these games. Nintendo always publishes a game in that slot. And yet, they are not this year. Very, very odd.
Nintendo, not Pokemon.
Nintendo, not Pokemon. Nintendo is not publishing something. And there is a game. So last year, Mario RPG came out on the Switch the week before Thanksgiving. This year, Mario and Luigi Brothership, an RPG that you would position the same way that you would position Mario RPG, for some reason, has seen its release date come out functionally a week sooner than it typically would. See that November 7th date rather than that 14th. It's almost as if it's all and listen, there's a very easy answer to this. And the answer is, if you look at it this way, it is not a Nintendo published game, it is a competitor's game. It is appearing on Nintendo Switch, but the remake of Dragon Quest III is coming out the following week. So maybe Nintendo said we're just going to avoid that week. That's not something that they've, as far as I can tell, ever done. But
that's not the week before Thanksgiving this year. This year, Thanksgiving falls on the 28th. So
wait,
it would be the 21st. I believe.
There you go.
Type in
what
Thanksgiving.
game is
crazy.
Dragon Quest what?
No. Just November. When is Thanksgiving this year?
Yeah, just type in Thanksgiving 2024.
Oh, is it earlier?
I think no, it's later. I think it's the 28th this year.
I find that odd because it's
There you go.
wow. Wait, this is crazy. How do we determine when? Oh, because
It's the fourth
Thursday. Because the 31st is a Thursday. That's so crazy.
Wow.
Wait, so this is even weirder then. Why is it 2 weeks back from when they would normally do it?
Yeah.
So now it's okay.
Now
All
it's even weirder.
Wait, now it's even weirder because now it's not avoiding Dragon Quest. So now there's really no argument. So that's
why I think, and I'm not even trying to make a joke,
Yeah.
but something could be announced for that time.
If I may, I'd like to respond to something you said earlier, Dusty. Specifically, your tweet there, where you said that black and white were the lowest performing Pokemon games, so there will be no Black and White remake. By that logic, Legends Arceus didn't even do as good as Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. We'll never get another Legends.
No, but
game.
Legends Arceus is a spin-off from the Sinnoh title. So my argument is that
I
there's
get you, but I'm saying that we'll never get another Legends game because Legends Arceus didn't do well.
I think it's a little bit different.
I'm actually with you on this, Dusty. I see where you're coming from. I'm
talking about the debut generation, right? That is where like we call it a generation because that is the group of people who started their Pokemon, their foray in their addiction into the franchise, right? People who grew up with Diamond and Pearl, that's their generation, right? I started with Red, Blue, and Yellow, right? That's my generation, right? So I think there's and if the starting point for Black and White, and maybe these numbers, maybe it doesn't even matter at all, but it is significant that that Black and White did not sell very well. That's a smaller group of people who have nostalgia for this generation. And I also I feel like Black and White isn't promoted. The Pokemon of Black and White are not promoted by Game Freak, right? Jake, that's something that you put in my brain.
I completely agree.
I can't not see that now.
Yeah, I played Pokemon Black and White for the first time recently, and I think something that really stood out to me was that all of those Pokemon, I was like, who are you people? I can't, because you know who has brand power with Pokemon because they don't let you forget it.
Yeah.
There's a reason that Gengar is everywhere. It's like
Lucario.
I think there are different levels, and I think that there's different okay, like this is so stupid, but bear with me. In the Pokemon Masters 8 tournament in the anime, who is the representative from Unova?
In the Pokemon Masters tournament?
I feel like this is a trick question.
In the
is
Masters
it no
8,
one?
Oh, in the Masters 8, there's Iris.
I just watched this for the first time. Okay, it's Iris, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who is it for Diamond and Pearl?
Cynthia.
Who has more cachet for the brand?
Definitely Cynthia.
Thank you. Okay, so and the reason I bring this up is that if you watch a trailer for Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, they will throw Cynthia in your face. They will be like, look, it's Cynthia. You know her. You love her. And
oh my gosh. And that is, and even one of the most iconic moments in Black and White or Black 2 and White 2 is Cynthia in the Unova region. That's funny.
That's just
my only
pushback though with that would be that while it is true that ordinarily Cynthia has more cachet, you have to think the anime is made for the Pokemon anime fans, and for the Pokemon anime fans, Iris is a bigger character than Cynthia because Iris is literally a main character.
I kind of disagree with you though, because based on who gets more economy in the anime, I don't watch it, but Cynthia gets more than Iris does. So even
what do you mean gets more?
They battle more in the tournament. They get more time. So
there is.
You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying. There is a lot of story reasons for that. Cynthia is in the anime. Cynthia is a character that Iris was mentored by. Yeah. So they did their battle first, and Iris lost to her because it was like a character moment.
Yeah.
So then obviously Iris can't battle more. And then also too, you have to think Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl is coming out this time. That's why Ash has a Lucario on his team. Why Dawn is randomly back to watch his Masters 8 battles. Mm-hmm. So that was another thing too, was Cynthia was also there to kind of push Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl.
Yeah,
but
and that's the thing, is that I'm not arguing who is the favorite or who has fans. Yeah. I'm just saying from a quantifiable point of view, from somebody on the outside, I feel like there are people that are pushed on me. I feel like Leon is pushed on me. I feel like Cynthia is pushed on me. I do not feel like Diantha is pushed on me. Right. I do. You know what? I like Elaine. More like a lame. So so that's just something I was observing, and I think when I think about the brand power of Black and White, the whole reason that you do a remake or a revisit to one of these games, a Brilliant Diamond and Omega Ruby or whatever, is that I feel like those games are just not going to sell as well as a main series title. We all get that, and part of what you're capitalizing on is that brand power. And I don't think that the Pokemon Company has, since Black and White have come out, invested into those creatures and world in a way that I could see super paying off now, in the way that I have seen them invest in other characters and places.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a lot less. They do have a habit of trying to shove it in specifically down our throat, though.
And that's why it's so interesting, because it's like, could it be now? Could now be the time that they decide we're going to push these things? And I could see that. And I think what's interesting here is that I'm not saying that Black and White are never going to come out. My thing is, when do you deploy them and how and why? And what I like about what's happening now is that if you launch a new system, the Nintendo Switch 2, you are not going to have the vast audience that you will have on that platform giving it 1, 2, 3 years. You're going to have the hardcore people there. And who are the most likely fans to buy into and appreciate a remake of Pokemon Black and White?
Yeah, the diehard fans.
Yeah, diehard fans. So there's something happening there where I think, you know, it might be a waste to deploy a generation or a game that could have a potentially much larger fan base. But maybe this is when you deploy the one that you're like, oh, okay, we're probably not gonna make the video.
Interesting. It does, when you describe it like that, Legends EA, going back to Kalos, that is a huge user base, right? That generation was successful, I think, on the 3DS.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, top 5. Looking at this, well, Scarlet and Violet's not listed on here.
Yeah,
so.
And these numbers aren't even like that drastically different, but I just,
Right. I mean, you know, there's still plenty of companies that are dying to make 15 million.
Oh my God.
40,000. You know,
yeah.
I'd like some of that change personally.
And I guess the thing that I'm wondering though is that I would say if there is a Black and White remake and it was delayed for the Switch 2, I would say that there still is a Switch 1 version. Sure. It's hard for me to not see that being the case. But then I'm like, oh my God, like, I just can't believe how many Pokemon games are going to be on that god dang Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
But maybe I just have to get over that. Maybe that's a personal hurdle, you know?
I mean, look at it this way. You know, you had all that there was on the 3DS. You basically have, you know, gens 6 and 7, and then when you factor in that it can play DS games, you've got all those. I mean, even the Dream Radar, which was like a direct connect to Black 2 and White 2, was only for the 3DS. So in a way, Black 2 and White 2 is kind of a 3DS game.
Sure, yeah.
And then you also have the virtual console games.
That's a good point.
Yellow, red, blue, or green.
Well, so
dear God.
So another big issue with like porting DS games. This is something that I used to talk about a lot, and it's still, I mean, it's a problem until it's solved, and I think it has been solved. Jake, what was that game that just came out? That actually it was a DS game that was ported to the Switch, or maybe it's on NSO.
It's ported to the Switch. It's the Castlevania Dominus collection, and it is a collection of Nintendo DS Castlevania games, and they have been very loosely remastered. It looks like a port because when you look at the game, you even see that like the bottom screen is side by side with like what the top screen from the game was.
Right.
So it's just look at the screenshots up there, Dusty. If you just go in the
right here.
right there. Yeah, just click on them. Yeah. So like this is showing like one view, and then here's like, oh yeah, those are the screens of the DS like right next to each other. Yeah, and it's funny.
This is it right here. This is the lower screen.
Yeah, and so they took what was 2 pages that you could flip through before on the lower screen, and they just put them on top of each other.
Sure.
So that so you could have them side by side, which is kind of funny. So yeah, I mean, listen, we've always known that the DS was capable of playing DS games, and even the Switch capable of playing DS games and capable of playing them in this way. We obviously know that the Nintendo Wii U did play DS games in this way. It literally had them. They were ported. They were on the Virtual Console. So it's never been a question of can. It's a question of why and will.
Yeah.
And I this is a personal hang up. I think that the argument for is that on the Nintendo Switch, Game Freak and the Pokemon Company have pretty much exhausted every art style that I can imagine for Pokemon on that platform, and they are really into making the games look different from each other. They that's important to them. especially when you have so many games in the same franchise on one platform, it has to be immediately apparent to consumers which one they're looking at. And does having a port of one of these games solve that problem? Yes. Does it keep the costs down of developing this game that you don't have a lot of confidence in? Yes. Does it take out some of the questionable decision making of working with a third party developer and instead working with a company that specializes in porting that Nintendo definitely already has access to? Yes. Like all of those, yes, all of those things make sense. The real question is, does it make sense for the Pokemon Company? Can the Pokemon Company be sold on porting these games and having them look like DS games on the Switch? And that is what it's so hard for me to sell myself on that. I feel like it feels to me like they would be leaving money on the table, but maybe they
or maybe
they do leave money on the table a lot of the time.
I mean, Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl probably cost them $30 to make, and look how much they sold.
Yeah.
I do think I don't know if there's like any actual merit to this argument or if this is just my personal opinion, but my big thing is that, look, we're at the end of this year. This year's almost over. We're in September, which, by the way, is crazy, guys.
Yeah.
This year flew by.
I have started drinking pumpkin spice. Just saying.
As you should. But we're nearly at the end of this year. Next year will be 29 for Pokemon. Yeah. The very next year will be the 30th anniversary. I really feel like if they're talking about ports, like if I was Game Freak, and I'm not, but if I was Game Freak and some guy goes, hey, we figured out a way to port Black and White, I'd be like, fantastic. Hold that until the 30th anniversary. And then also, especially when we're factoring in that we're on the cusp of a new console, and that could be a way that Nintendo markets this new console, right? Like, hey, now with the Nintendo Switch Online, with the new Nintendo Switch, it wouldn't be online, it would be Pokemon's own collection. I think we're all in agreement there. But they market it as like, why would you buy the Nintendo Switch 2? Well, it's because if you want to play the classic Pokemon ports, those are available for Switch 2.
Yeah, I don't know. So I hear what you're saying. What I think, though, is I think Game Freak and the Pokemon Company, they have these big ideas, and obviously if they make an idea, they could just duplicate it. Like my brain goes, okay, you did BDSP, make one for every generation because it's a new way to play these old games. But we're not getting them all at once. I don't even think we can get all of the ports all at once. Maybe. Agreed. But I don't know if we can do that. I think what actually makes more sense is to drip feed them, right? Yep. If they say every single game is out right now, then you're losing money. But if you isolate each title and say, guess what? You can get this for the first time. Everyone's going to flood and get it. And then they go 6 months later, but you can also get yellow version. Red and blue were available, but now you can get yellow version. Everyone's going to flood and get it, right? That's literally how they released Gens 1 and 2 on the 3DS eShop. They were like, get gold and silver. I bought both, and then 6 months later we're like, you can also get crystal. So
what's tough there is that there is a little bit of a difference in player expectation and what I think is acceptable by modern audience standards, and also they don't want to create a problem for Nintendo, who will be publishing the game. It is extremely difficult for me to rationalize Nintendo giving you Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games via their Nintendo Switch Online subscription, and then you saying, okay, we're going to drip feed these throughout the year, and we're going to make you pay for every single one of them. And I think that there's a conflict between Pokemon and Game Freak in that scenario. And our Pokemon and Nintendo, excuse me.
Yeah, I guess maybe I'm making the assumption that I would purchase these. I like the idea of this image that you created, that you put on Twitter. I like the concept of a 30th year anniversary collection. It's all of the Game Boy era games. That's cool. That feels tight. I don't know if that's exactly how it would roll out, but that's how I imagine the Black and White collection, the Unova collection.
Let me pitch you on this.
I like that.
Because
that feels contained.
So I envisioned this as a retail anniversary product. Okay, this is I'm gonna buy Nintendo's 35th anniversary Mario collection, right? And I think that the way that you would do that. So now you have to imagine these games are not just available physically, they're available digitally on the Nintendo eShop.
Sure.
How do you do that? Do you break them up one by one? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You just can't. You just can't, because then you're putting all of these different banners on the Nintendo eShop, and then Nintendo gets mad. They're like, the first 3 pages of our store right now are all your freaking game.
That's a good thing to consider.
And you cannot do stuff like that. So my imagination for this was that this was 2 packages that you could buy on the eShop together on 1 cartridge.
Okay.
So yeah. So I think it would be like
and how are they split up? Is it red and gold and ruby?
1 and 2 and 3.
I know it makes most sense to take 1 of each and put them together, but that's just not how you would ever sell them, because it doesn't incentivize getting the other ones as much.
Sure.
So I think it would just be
Kanto and Johto.
I think it
Kanto
would be
and Hoenn. If you do Gen 3, it has a Kanto game in there too, Fire Red and Leaf Green.
I think I would just do Game Boy and Game Boy Advance.
Oh, I see.
Well, doing it that way would also do it too. You know, you have that would be Gen 1 and 2 and Gen 3. Because I mean, Gen 3, you figured that would break it up where it's you have
no matter which one you get Kanto.
Is red, green, yellow, and gold, silver, crystal. Yeah. So that's 6 games. And then the other game is giving you Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Fire Red, Leaf Green. So that's 5 games.
And then also you have Kanto on both games, so it's like you're gonna want to buy them all.
Right. And, they want to do a Gen 4 collection? Well, guess what? Johto's in that,
which has
Kanto is too.
And then you do the black and white collection.
Yeah, it's funny. I almost feel like it's just important that they have Charizard on the front of both of those collections.
Yeah,
and
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. And listen, there's a lot of different configurations you could do, but I just want people to, I think that the main thing I want to communicate is that I think we look a lot at like the 3DS and the Virtual Console, and it's like things have changed. Sure. Things have changed. Mm-hmm. That was a 3DS. That was a tiny little handheld console. It kind of made sense that you would just buy one little Game Boy game, and that was your game.
And it fills up your grid. It fills up like your menu grid.
And at that time, there was no subscription service where you could download games after subscribing to it. So it was a different, there was different expectations. There were also different expectations about how much you could sell on a digital marketplace. In the 3DS era, I can promise you that the Nintendo audience on 3DS, they were not really buying things on that eShop especially until like much later into that.
I only bought 3DS Pro.
Like, it just, so it's a completely different thing that we're talking about now. So I do think that, listen, I think that ports are coming. I think that they're coming.
When is the question?
I think it's a question of when you deploy them. I
agree.
And they're strategic about these things. It's not just going to be. And so my thought is that I think it makes sense to have a 30th anniversary product, something that is not just on the eShop like it was on the Virtual Console or whatever, except I'm sure they sold boxes with the codes in them for the 3DS. I'm sure they did. Yes, it's important to them. So something at retail, something that you can buy, it has proven to be a successful way of selling something. This is not
makes it an event. It's in your face, you know. It's
also
not just on your digital screen. It is when I walk into the video game section at Walmart, when I walk into a GameStop, they are going, "Hey, look, Pikachu."
Yeah, and this is also something that a kid can unwrap on during the holidays.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon. Metroid Prime Remastered, Nintendo Direct, they announce it. It's available to download now, but the physical version comes out in like a month. You can totally see the Pokemon Company going out there doing their little presents.
You're double dipping too.
And you can download some of these eShop games right now, and then you can download some of them in 6 months, and then this fall, this collection of all of them will be on the shelf, and it'll have a cool
and
box.
You're gonna buy them all because you're a sucker.
Gonna buy them all. I'm definitely gonna buy them all.
Of course, I want that sick cartridge. Yeah.
And I guess so this is again like another question that I have is like, great, maybe we get this in a year or two.
Yeah.
Right? For the 30th year anniversary, great. I do wonder where it fits in on the timeline. Is this like a summer release, right? I think I've been listening to Steve on the Pokemon cast on It's Super Effective, and he's been actually kind of petitioning. He's like, I think that a new title could just come out in the summer. Not just Legends EA, but maybe even Gen 10. I don't know if I totally bought into it, but I do like the
No.
I do like the idea
Yeah.
of like more Pokemon games. Like it doesn't need to be one game a year. Like this could be a random mid-year.
They do kind of do
release.
that, right? Like DLC, you have the Teal Mask dropping in September,
Yeah.
Indigo Disc dropping, Sword
it
and
is
Shields
DLC.
DLC drop randomly. And then also you have to think Pokemon, I know that there's the Pokemon purists. We play our Red, Blue, X, Y, those games, but like you have Pokemon Snap released in June.
Yeah.
Pokemon Unite released in I think July or August. Pokemon
Yeah.
Masters, Pokemon Go came out.
I don't know
in
if
the
those are
summer.
totally the same because they're like kind of living games, but
They're not. They're definitely not Pokemon Snap and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon are a bit more in
Sure.
line with like.
I think this
it's
fits
a,
that.
Game.
This fits that.
So the problem with this is that we need to think. Okay, take the Pokemon out of it. Who publishes these games? Nintendo publishes these games, and Nintendo wants these games to come out the week before Thanksgiving so that they can be on the store shelves for Black Friday shoppers so that millions of parents can buy them for their kids that year. Like it's too I hate to say this. I'm so sorry. It is simply too big of a brand. Like every other video game in the world. I understand come out during the summer, come out in March, come out in but man,
well then
like
where do you slip
Pokemon-
this in? I agree with you.
I
Where
think
do you
Gen
slip it
10
in?
where
would
do you
come
do
out before
the
Black
collection
Friday.
Where do you do
And
the
this
collection of the ports?
Where do you
Yeah.
put
When would you
port?
release the collection?
Much more flexible. Much more flexible.
This
I agree.
year
Yeah.
is looking pretty prime. There's nothing happening this year, and we have
But it's not the 30th.
What is it? No, I know.
But
It's,
it's
I
not
know.
the
I know.
30th
It's not,
anniversary, and we're right on the cusp of a new console.
I totally know. I agree with, but what are they gonna do? Are they gonna put it out at the end of 2025? I guess that could work, but that's not the 30th year anniversary. Are they gonna release the 30th year anniversary title that's branded as the 30th year anniversary before it's even the 30th?
Yes.
Okay, then there it is, 2025.
Yeah, yes. I'm so sorry. Yes, the
That's
answer
great.
is yes.
That's
Yeah,
great. I would love
yeah.
that. If I'm playing that next year, great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally don't see it. I think they would wait until the 30th anniversary. I think that's something they'd want to
But then when's Gen 10
in
coming
their
out?
30th anniversary. I think also the 30th anniversary. I think we will see something very similar to Sun and Moon that year, where it was, as you're going through the year, you have boom, here's the virtual
Here's all
console
these
games.
legendary Pokemon you can
Boom,
get.
here's Pokemon Go. Boom, here's Pokemon Sun and Moon the week before Black Friday.
Yeah. But if they're both tight, yeah, it does confuse me because I'm like, if there's two big titles, like they're gonna want to put. I guess 2025 does work.
You
for
do
that.
have to think.
We wonder
though,
what the
Dusty,
2025.
I
game's
know
gonna
that
be.
ports are like. I know that you would easily. I know you love me and Jake, but I know that you would shoot both of us point blank in the head for your
Easy.
Pokemon ports.
Yeah. Easy
Okay.
decision.
So here's my question. Yeah. Let's here's the deal. So we all agree. Here's what's on the table. Ports, black and white games, Legends ZA, Gen 10. These are that is 4 titles.
Yeah.
4 titles. And it is 2024. It is the fall of 2024 is happening right now. We are living it, baby. So we have until the end of 2026. I'm hearing from you all that those 4 games are all going to hit before the end of 2026. Is that
I
correct?
think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
So
You give or take the black and white.
okay.
Yeah,
so,
the black and white I am a little
Okay.
more iffy on, but I am a believer.
Okay. So Legends does anything come out before Legends ZA?
I
It may be a port.
think
Like something.
I don't think so.
No, I'm just like, if we don't get something in the next couple, they announced Legends ZA. They haven't talked about Legends ZA. I think if if they talk about Legends ZA again, if we get a trailer at some point, nothing else is coming out until Legends ZA. But I think there is a little wiggle room for them to like reveal something in the next 2 months and just be like, guess what? Buy this. We didn't do anything special. You could just play it now on the Switch.
I
And
can't
that's
imagine.
I just think it's
a couple
too
mil.
big of a reveal for them to just like.
It's not.
do
Not
an
a
anniversary presentation.
not a
for it,
collector. I'm not talking about the full. I'm not talking about Jake's full collector's
Yeah.
thing. I'm
You're
talking
just
about
saying,
like
a random black and white. I still
that's
think
why
that even
black
is-
and yes, I think you could
I don't
bundle all the Unova stuff together.
I don't think so.
Like
I
maybe
think that's
maybe
still
they
too
scrap
big.
the black and white remake and they're
look,
like,
if we're
"Here,
talking
just play
about
it."
Mystery Dungeon, Pokemon Ranger, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Coliseum, sure. But I do not see them doing that with a mainline game.
I think a mainline game is like significant because it's a mainline game and it's exciting because of that, but it's not new content. If it's a port, who cares? It's a re-release. There's no weight to it. They just say, go buy this, and also we'll see you in February because we're going to tell you everything about Legends EA. That's the juice.
So here's the question. Does porting Black and White, maybe Black 2, White 2, if that's your flavor, does porting that and putting that on Nintendo Switch lessen the future value of Game Boy and Game Boy Advance ports? We've already got the DS port. Why do I want to go back?
But it's
no, I know I know what the argument is, but I'm asking. You see what I mean?
Yeah. The argument is that it's like Gen 5 is not as nostalgic as Gens 1 through 3. Gens 1
right,
through,
but I do
through
think
2.
that's a great point because it's like likewise, if I'm just being honest for myself, if tomorrow Pokemon says, hey, we're porting Fire Red and Leaf Green, I'm buying it. And then if in a month they say, hey, we're porting Pokemon Red and Green.
That's my point.
I'm not going to buy it.
That's what
I'm not going to buy it.
Oh, you're not going to buy it?
No.
Yeah, but here's the
I have
thing.
Fire Red and Leaf Green. Why do I need Red and Green?
I think there's a lot more consumers like that than we realize.
Okay.
If they go, hey, look, here's Heart Gold and Soul Silver. It's mine. So quick. And then the next month they go, here's Gold and Silver. No, thank you. I don't need it.
And remember,
that's fair because I grew up with Gold and Silver. So to me, that's like, I'm also a collector. Like I gotta collect them all, baby. Right? Gotta give them all.
And I think something that works in favor of what do you call it? Of Pokemon Let's Go.
Yeah.
Is that Pokemon Let's Go is so obviously different from the Kanto games.
Yeah.
That I don't think having like ports of the Kanto games on Switch lessens the value of Let's Go.
They're different experiences.
But I do think there is a conflict if you were to port Diamond and Pearl to Switch.
Oh, 100%. I don't think we're getting Diamond and Pearl. Like you said DS ports. I don't think we're getting DS ports. I think Black and White. So the other thing about Black and White, another reason why Black and White could make sense for ports, is that we got the Gen 4 remakes.
Yeah.
And then we got the Gen 5 ports, and then we're doing Legends game for Kalos.
Yeah.
And they're all different. Going back to your point, they all visually look different. They play different. They're different products. And but then you have this sequential order of the generations. So the Gen 5 people they're getting their game, right? They're not being skipped over, right?
Yeah.
And if people hate BDSP, then you better be happy with the port
to me,
of Gen
that's
5.
like, that is because ports are something that like it's flexible. They can release at any time because it's not like impactful to the greater scheme that they have planned. So my thing is, I just do not see them having something like a port and going, hey, the 30th anniversary is next year, but we're going to drop this now.
Okay, and here's another thing. The Pokemon ports would never be in the holiday slot. Once again, think about Nintendo publishing the game. Whenever Nintendo publishes a Pokemon game in the fall, that November, nothing else comes out. That is the game that they are pushing. And when you think about something like think about this.
I hear what you're saying. Could it come out in like September?
Yes.
Because you want it on shelves. That's the point.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes and no. So a collection of ports is also just inherently gonna do better digitally than you would anticipate mainline new Pokemon game doing physically. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. But the other point that I want to make is, when you can really predict when a Pokemon game is going to come out in the fall or not?
Yeah.
Ask yourself if Nintendo is going to put out a game in November. Because if Nintendo has a game coming out in November, then guess what? There is no Pokemon game because they would never do it. They would never release competing games at the same. They would not do it.
Oh, sure. But there's always a Pokemon game in November.
Not always.
There's not always. What was the Pokemon game that came out in
DLC.
November last year?
That's a good point.
And that wasn't even in November.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's true.
And you can look up first party Nintendo published games in any year, whatever you want.
Yeah.
And let's even just November 2021. That's Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And that I think we can even see that as being kind of like a lower value in terms of Pokemon Pokemon products go.
Yeah, and it still
So-
had that slot.
There's still no other Nintendo
And
published
it
game.
still made really good sales. You saw it was right below like
But-
Black and White.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm trying to say about like the sales strategy from Nintendo's point of view
Totally.
is that is that if there is something with Pokemon, that is the game that they are publishing that month, and they are investing all of their resources into pushing that game. And so and the only reason I bring this up is because next year, I think we all are on the same page that the Nintendo Switch 2 will be released by the holiday of next year. And
Agreed.
Nintendo, there's two options here. There is a huge new game, a Mario Kart, a big Nintendo franchise that they have slated to push more consoles in the holiday coming out in November, or there's a Pokemon game. It's one of those, period. And if there's a Pokemon game, then that means Mario is coming out August, September, October. It's not coming out in November. If there is a Pokemon game, it's coming out in November. And if it's a Pokemon game and it's taken that slot, it is not a collection of ports. In the same year that a Switch 2 is coming out, absolutely freaking
So
not.
this is
It
why
is-
Legends
I
EA
don't-
would be coming out mid-year. This is the point of that.
I think
No, so
there's
the-
other points to that.
Sure, but
Yeah,
like,
so
that's why
my
it's
point-
not being pushed out all the way to the
Kind
to a
of, yeah.
holiday release.
Well, yes, exactly. Yes, 100% yes. Because you would assume that you could save Legends ZA to come out in the fall if there wasn't something that Nintendo's over there going, absolutely not. We're pushing
Yeah.
Mario Kart 10 in the
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Yeah. So yes, but there's also the fact that it's a Switch 1 game and all this other
Bro,
stuff.
I want to see their map. I want to see their like roadmap, just
Yeah,
like
we're
with
gonna have to.
all the different
Don't
points
we
and how
all?
nothing. Oh, dude, that'd be so cool. Just to like
I,
see it all, like the strategy behind releasing everything.
I don't know if this is relevant to the discussion. I feel like it is, but for I did the research, and for red, green, blue, what they did was on Pokemon Day 2016, they said, "Hey, we're doing virtual console games for red, green, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
blue.
And when did they
It's out
release
right
it?
now.
Oh,
It's out right now.
dude. February 27th, 2025.
No, 2026,
Oh, true.
2026, that 30th anniversary.
And they just said they said the game's out now. You
Yeah, they
you
said
can
the game's
buy
out
it
now.
You can buy it
Yellow's
next month.
coming later.
Yeah, that is insane. And listen, they are doubling up with a lot of these releases, right? Like they're actually getting pretty bold. It still blows my mind that they released BDSP and then Legends Arceus.
Another alternative that they could do is that you could do it 2025. You announce the virtual console games that they're available right now. Makes sense. You want to take advantage of the large install base on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
And you do that then. Next year, 30th anniversary, you throw out that physical edition.
Yeah.
Once
Yes.
you've gone through them all.
Sure. But you
You
The
throw 'em on
Mario
eShop.
Collection 2,
Yeah,
for what
tell me
that's
about
worth,
that.
because that's a
Yeah.
more recent one.
Yeah.
They announced it. Okay, so this is interesting.
Yeah.
So it says it was first reported by Video Games Chronicle in March 2020, and it was corroborated by other outlets, but this was not an official reveal. According to these reports, Nintendo planned to announce it in a Mario-themed presentation at E3, but this was canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It was then revealed during a Nintendo Direct on September 3rd, and it was released on September 18th. So
Yep. Yeah.
unless there was some kind of error, it seems that it was released 15 days after. I mean, maybe there's a chance that Nintendo planned to announce it in June, but then it's a question of if they had announced it in June, if things have gone their way and E3 hadn't been canceled because of COVID, would they have then just released it later in June?
what game was this? This was Mario.
This was the Mario 3D collection. So kind of the most recent first party port.
I think
Yeah.
I think that is a good example to look at. Like because
Well-
that was their 30th year anniversary.
The
Right.
35th, I believe, but yeah.
And
35th?
I think
Oh wow.
I'm not sure.
35th is correct.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, because Mario's 80, whatever. But
Yeah.
I think my alteration to this is that I could see that being the case if we're doing red, blue, yellow, which is the true 30th anniversary, I
Yeah.
think.
Right.
You know, and that's not even really true.
But
if we're
yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying. So so the only reason I'm extending this launch thing is, again, I just like can't make myself believe that all those games will hit the eShop like at the same time.
Yeah.
And I
really see it as like,
yeah,
this is the 30th year anniversary and Pokemon is going strong. And then they're like, you know, Gen 1 is available this year. In next year, or maybe 6 months from now, you get Gen 2. 6 months after that, Gen 3. 6 months after that, Gen 4. And they're like extending the anniversary. But even that is like, would they do that in the lead up? Because I think right now, if the only game we're getting, the only main series new game we're getting is Pokemon Legends ZA in the next year and a half, now is the time to trickle and give us all of these different classic games.
It's messy though, because you can't tell people buy Red and Blue now, buy Fire Red and Leaf Green later. You're right. Because they won't do it.
Yeah,
they won't do it. They'll wait.
But they can
I will wait for Fire Red and Leaf Green.
Yeah.
Unless it's really cheap. I do think the Virtual Console ones were like $10. I might do that.
They might have been less. They might have been less.
Don't
might
know.
have 5, yeah.
Yeah, it was like 7, I think. Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways, this 30th year anniversary collection is a clean way to deliver a lot of great Pokemon games.
Yeah.
And just make people happy. It's a hefty product. Your initial tweet was kind of a question. Would you pay $70? Right? Because the alternative is you have to spend. Listen, you can emulate, which is illegal, or you could, spend hundreds of dollars for these titles, right?
You know what? I've changed my mind. You've convinced me.
It's hefty. There's so much stuff here.
You're right. You've convinced me. I can see the commercial. I can see it. Pokemon Day 2025. I don't know, man.
I don't think Red, Blue, and because here's another thing. We're talking about generations. I don't think Red, Blue, and Yellow is that exciting. You had a whole video about how the SNES is like not as cool as Nintendo still thinks it is. That age bracket of person is 50 years old now. They're still, that's a vibrant person. They're living a life. They love the product. I wish them all the best. But I would think the core gamers right now are nostalgic for Lumi. What you're saying,
yes,
you want you want to play Game Boy Advance games. You want to play DS games. So I don't think Red, Blue, and Yellow is that exciting anymore. I do think they go. It's honestly, the core of this really is Gen 3. And that's the shiny part.
Well, and I think that the important thing to remember here too is that so much of the work is done. The emulators have been built. Exactly. We have the technology. It's very easy to do. And honest to freaking God, I can see the reveal so cleanly. And I don't know. It's this just makes sense to me. You can just deploy. The most important thing is that you need to deploy them against the active Nintendo Switch 1 audience. That is the most important thing by far.
Yeah.
You do not want to attempt to sell these to a much smaller, fresh player base on a console whose one of their big selling points is going to be their power, the new power. You can't do that. You can't. Yeah. So,
retro. That's a good point. You don't want to define the new power.
Yeah, you can't
with retro gaming.
It's psychopath. Yeah.
I wanted to point out that Diamond and Pearl came out in 2006, and Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl released on its 15-year anniversary.
That's
Black
relevant.
and White came out in 2010. Next year's the 15th anniversary of Black and White.
Bro, I'm saying. I'm just like, when is it going to happen? Because I will eat these up. And I
don't think it will be ports for Black and White. I was saying that as a point for, whatever the Black and White remake is.
Another element here of these ports, right? It's not just like you're getting the base game and that's it. It could be. But what we've seen in the past with the 3DS ports is they actually unlock a lot of the mystery gifts, the events, the legendary Pokemon that are lost to time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that breathes a lot of life into these older games, especially the GBA games that have all of these e-reader functionality, right? You can go find Mew on Faraway Island. You can make it a lot more accessible to go to Mirage Island, right? You can get Deoxys. You can do all these events. You can catch Lugia and Ho-Oh and Emerald. I've never done that on cart. I know there's YouTubers who will do that. I have never done that. I've never experienced that. And I think that would be, I don't know. I think that for me as a Pokemon player, and I am a psychopath. I love these games and I'll play them forever.
Agreed.
But like that's exciting. That would make me buy the. I don't know. I guess I'm already sold beyond.
No, listen, I'm sold. You've sold me. I've come around. Here's the schedule. It's a whole new experience.
Here's
the schedule. It's Legends ZA comes out kind of early next year. Black and White are coming out in the fall. Here's my bet. Black and White are Switch 2 games. That's my bet.
Wow.
I believe so as well.
I just think it makes sense given the what I said earlier about the hardcore audience, and I do think that you feed the Switch 1 audience before and after. So you feed them with Legends ZA, and then you feed them after with this port collection.
Yeah.
And so you sandwich two Switch audience games. You have a Switch 2 exclusive, a Black and White remake that takes advantage of a Switch 2 feature, a hardware feature that we do not yet know about, in the same way that Pokemon Let's Go took advantage of the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So you get Legends ZA, Pokemon Black and White Switch 2, and then you get the ports for 2026 Pokemon Day, and then fall
2026 Gen 10.
Gen 10.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, that conclusion you've come to about Black and White being Switch 2, that seems to be what Soul Source and what Ku and what Pyoro were hinting at.
Beautiful.
And I like you know what makes this make the most sense to me, to be honest with you? I'm thinking about when the Nintendo Switch came out. And I'm like, man, so that was 2017, right?
The Nintendo Switch?
Yeah.
That sounds right.
2017.
So, and man, so yeah, okay. All right. So I'm seeing it a little clearly here. Right. And I think it's Mario Odyssey was the big fall game, and they did not have that come out in November. They had that come out at the end of October.
Wow.
And I think so.
Yeah, it was the launch title was Zelda and
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
Oh, yeah, yep. Breath of the Wild, and it was Punch Out
Odyssey,
or
right?
whatever it's called.
Was it not Odyssey?
It was
So they had like consecutive months where they released things. So they had Breath of the Wild, they had Mario Kart, they had ARMS, and then ARMS. Mario Odyssey came in October. At the end of October, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came in December, and I think it was, man, maybe I'm wrong. I think it was Mario Rabbids that came out in November, but maybe
seems silly. I don't know how good of a game
which
that
is funny because that's now like the
August.
game that has a permanent spot in the clearance section at Walmart.
That came out in August. So okay, so here's the funny thing is that I think that maybe an L was perceived, because that fall Pokemon did publish a game. Pokemon did put out a game in November, but it was Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And
but for a different title or for a different system.
That's correct. And maybe that was a perceived loss. And and now it's like, okay, let's not play that game again.
I feel like
to feed into that too, there was a really big rumor, and it blew up to the point that I think a lot of people believe it's real. Whether you do or not's up to you. But that the original Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon was not, in fact, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, but was going to be a game called Pokemon Stars and was going to be for the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've never believed that.
So
we'll see. I know, though.
I don't think I'm a believer in it either. I don't know enough about where it even came from to be a believer. But if I may play around with the idea for a moment, you have Nintendo's suggesting this. They're like, what if we do Pokemon Stars for the Nintendo Switch, or Pokemon whoever is suggesting this, and they end up deciding to go, nah, let's just do the 3DS thing. We'll play it safe.
Sure.
And then, like you said, it's a perceived L, and they're sitting here going, oh, man, we almost did the thing, but we didn't.
It would be, and again, I don't know if it's real or not, but it actually positions Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon as far superior versions of the game than how a lot of fans took it. Like, if you're playing a game and you're like, this is amazing, and then you play it on a new console that's like a complete upgrade with it, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a full HD version of it. Like, even if the story is like more or less the same, and
it was the biggest upgrade.
That's exciting. That's a different experience.
Objectively, it was the biggest upgrade a Pokemon had with an enhanced version, or in Black and White's case, a sequel. In the past,
and it would justify
they introduced new forms like
versions.
Giratina's origin form, or the Zekrom, Kyurem, Reshiram, Kyurem.
That's the same
fusions,
game with a different ending.
Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon literally had brand new, for the first time ever, they introduced brand new Pokemon in the middle of the generation in the video games. Blacephalon, Stakataka, Poipole, Naganadel. Zeraora.
And I just want to clarify something really quick because I made a big point earlier about Nintendo always publishing a game the week before Thanksgiving. So just for clarity, the week before Thanksgiving on Nintendo Switch, Nintendo did publish a game for the Switch. They published Skyrim that year.
Oh,
okay. Yeah, they did not.
And
develop
that's a re-release.
But that's a big one, yeah.
That's a big re-release.
They published that. They pushed that on Nintendo Switch, and I have to imagine that they were pushing Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon on 3DS, maybe perceiving that it's a different 3DS audience. And that kind of feeds into what I'm saying about wanting to play to the audience that's there before trying to, you know what I mean? It's like, if everybody's doing their holiday shopping, it's kind of hard to sell them on the console that they maybe don't have. Yeah. But it's so you
You're like, that looks fun, but he doesn't have it. I'm not gonna buy it. I'll buy the thing that is on his totally.
Right. Yeah. Because you're not gonna sell everybody a console.
No. Yeah. That's tough. Yeah. I had a point about this title, I think. I'm not sure.
Man, I'm starting to feel like the Black-White remakes, what if they're just like weirdo titles? What if they're weird? Like, do you really feel like it's gonna be like a BDSP Black and White? Because I don't.
Well, the rumor was
I don't think so.
I feel like it's a different dimension. It's a different story.
I think
the rumor was that it was gonna be a Paradox version.
Yeah,
that makes more sense.
Paradox
version of that
Nova
rumor,
is what the rumor was.
Makes more sense.
There were also there's someone that I know who has gotten a lot of stuff correct.
DustyGogoat?
Who happened to
baby.
Who said that like they heard that Unova was going to have that whatever Unova game was going to feature Paradox Pokemon had new Paradox Pokemon in it.
Cool. I like it.
I think
now this person has since gotten like everything wrong.
True Psyduck and ideal Golduck.
Yeah.
Lumi, let's thank our sponsors.
Oh, yes. Okay, so we want to thank all of our sponsors, of course, all of you, the legendary tier members, the box legendary tier members, but we want to give a special by name shout out to our mythical tier members, Hayden Segal, Indiana Jenkins, Ryan Amphosinus, Coronet Highlander, Tyler Low 15, Primal Gray, Sully the Skeleton, Matt Hale, the PokeKid 01. We want to give a special shout out to our Arceus tier supporters, Young Smokey, Case, and Hayes, and a Gigantamax size shout out to our Game Freak Inc. level supporters, Drogame, Bramtastic, Rilo, and Sheev Burger. Thank y'all so much.
Guys, that list gets longer and longer and longer every single week. If you guys like the show, support the show. But thank you guys so much for your continued support in the driest Pokemon period of all time, in the last decade. This show is growing. This list is growing. You guys have come out. You guys have ensured that the show will continue. If you want to support, if you want to have your name read, if you want to support the podcast, you can, for just $5, you can become a YouTube channel member, a supporter. You can become a Patreon supporter. Links in the description, and get access to our secret Discord. You get also access to our entire catalog of Secret Power podcast episodes. Ton of juicy stuff there.
Wait! You get the whole library?
The entire library.
All of it.
Okay, wait. Tell me, what was the most recent Secret Power about?
It was about me moving because I moved.
Lumi moved.
This is behind the curtain content.
Yeah, this is.
Oh yes.
This
absolutely.
is like getting on a what
Delicious.
often happens. Yeah, you get to sit in on a group call with all three of us, and we just talk about stuff, and it's private, so we can
and an octopus.
We can just hang out. Talk about our feelings.
The inner circle.
The inner circle. Yeah, you get to kind of look behind the curtain.
Wow.
But you also get access to other perks, include a discount on all of our merchandise, and you also in the secret Discord we have a battle competition. And that's been a ton of fun.
League.
I'm battling like 3 people this week as an Elite 4 member. Full details if you join. Yeah, if you join, you can enter the league and compete your way through the tournament. or through the league. It's not a tournament. It's a league.
I love the league. People in your Discord, they make videos of the battles that they do against you guys.
Charsavic Valley.
I watch all of them.
Do you
They
really?
are yes.
Do you really?
All of them.
Holy
yes.
cow. That's
They are
sick.
awesome, dude.
That's
they are
amazing. That's
awesome.
amazing.
It's so sick. Yeah, no, I love it. It's such a cool thing. Yeah.
Dude, that's so cool to hear that you watch
Yeah.
it. Yeah, man, the community's growing. It makes me so happy. I'm blessed that to have so many of you guys supporting the show and making this thing possible.
Well, thank you both for having me. I appreciate it. I know it's a long time to
course.
spend with someone, so I
No,
feel
this is
privileged
it's
to
been
be
great.
invited into your space for real. Thank you. Yeah.
For sure, man.
course.
You're always welcome to be here.
Yeah, show
you know
some
what?
love to the man, the myth, the legend, Jake Steinberg in the comments below.
I'm craving another live stream, another 6-hour live stream.
Yeah.
When's the
definitely, me
next
too.
Pokemon event? Like, we got to do that soon.
Oh,
But
Tomorrow.
I'm gonna go let my dog out, and I'm gonna see you boys in the DMs. I'll see you soon. Peace. Subscribe if you're
Bye.
new. Watch this episode right here. Peace.